I've got a new project. I'm calling it Peak Hipster. I'm going to try out all those shitty modifications people do to custom bikes to see if they're as bad as people say. But first, I've got to fix up the donor bike. Now with this project, I don't want to start with a shitty, unreliable motorcycle, so I'm starting with a Royal Enfield Bullet. No, it's a 2001 Kawasaki W650. And while it looks good from here, the previous owner has serviced it regularly but has done no cosmetic maintenance in the 70,000 Ks that he's owned the bike. People like this should be stopped from owning motorcycles. Now, I can't make that happen, so instead I called the Department of Human Services and made sure that he couldn't have kids. So over the last few months I've been collecting everything I need to get the bike on the road. But just looking at the thing makes me want to shower, so I'm going to clean it before anything else. I'm using a mix of nuclear-grade degreaser from Autobahn and methylated spirits from Bunnings. In Northern Australia, you can also get this from bottle shops. Hours spent carefully scrubbing and washing and scrubbing and washing and scrubbing is surprisingly cathartic. But so's this. Now, it looks miles better than it did before, and it's a bit surprising to see what just a few hours work can do. There's still some dirty bits left in between the fins, but honestly, I've got much more important things to do at the moment. Oh, and also this. Here's the thing that a friend of mine, Craig Longhurst, pointed out. With the bike up and idling on its centre stand like this, the rear wheel should be spinning, and it's not, or like this. But if you take a look at a fish, inside the clutch pack there's a bearing, and that bearing may have failed. The technical term for this is shitting itself. So it's time to drain the side covers, take off the oil, and... check this shit out. Angled sump plug. Hot tip, do a pour illustration and put the bolts through it there, because some of them are different sizes. With the oil drained out, the cover comes off easily. Now, when removing the bolts on the clutch, it's important to loosen them in an even fashion like this. With the clutch and springs removed, everything pulls out really easily. Now, the first thing I've noticed is this. This is the bearing I was referring to. That might be stuffed. And there is actually a slight notch in it. So to fix this, the new bearing goes into the fridge to shrink it, the bearing, not the fridge. And the pressure plate goes into the oven on a low heat. You sit nearby and listen for the sound of the bearing to drop out. Hopefully, the sound you hear isn't the pressure plate just cracking in two. Oh. It hasn't risen. Ooh. On the kitchen top, the new bearing dropped in some oil slots right in. Then to inspect the rest of the clutch. The basket looks okay, so it's onto the plates. The steel plate's looking for any sign of bluing or warping. As you can see, they look pretty good. They're all nice and straight. To give you an idea of what you do look for, I've got one from another bike that's failed. There's slight warping on this one, and there's a case of this one here's got the signs of bluing on it too. Clutch was fine, but I'm just going to replace everything for street, sport bike or road race use. That'll be me. The only time I lean over that much is if I'm about to crash. And so the clutch goes back together, making sure that you start with a fibre plate, then going metal, alternating between the two until you get to the end, making sure you end on fibre, then on goes the pressure plates, in go the springs, and then the bolts. Now, I was going to let this play out like one of those weird ASMR videos, but I thought I'd sprout some of my bullshit instead. In a moment, I'll pull out something I rarely use. Stop it. A torque wrench. I've seen people use these for all sorts of ridiculous applications, one-off bolts and indicator mounts and things like that. But 9 out of 10 home torque wrenches are cheap and never calibrated anyway, so they're kind of useless. But what they are good at is repeatability. Repeatability. When tightening down a large area like cam covers or a clutch plate, it ensures that the pressure is applied evenly across the surface, even if not at the correct torque. And now with it all together, the clutch looks happy and sounds happy as well.
Oh, thanks.
So that's it for today. We've successfully rebuilt a clutch and made the engine look a whole lot better, but not as better as it could be. Tune in next week where we do some polishing and some painting. It actually tastes like engine oil. Everything does in the oven now, everything.